Hi guys, this is November 2021, paper 1. So straight into it, simplify this. All we have to do, guys, is subtract the power. So this is e to the power of 5, because 8 minus 2 is equal to 6. Expand and simplify, right? We do this times this, this times this, this times this, and this times this. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is x plus x. Minus 3 times x is minus 3x. Minus 3 times 1 is minus 3. And we have to simplify, so we have to do x squared. X minus 3x is minus 2x minus 3. That's our answer. Okay, question 2. Right angle triangle. So immediately I'm thinking Pythagoras or SOHCAHTOA. He says calculate the value of h, give your answer to 3 significant figures, right guys? I said Pythagoras or SOHCAHTOA. There's no angles, so I'm just going to use Pythagoras. And Pythagoras says that h squared plus 30 squared equals 52 squared. This squared plus this squared equals this squared. This is the longest side. Then I just subtract, so h squared is 52 squared minus 30 squared. I'll subtract this one, and then I could actually use my calculator to get 52 squared and 30 squared, but before that I'm just gonna get the square root of 52 squared minus 30 squared, and this is, on my calculator, square root of 52 squared minus 30 squared is this, but he wants 3 significant figures, so I'm going to do 42.47 and then 42.47, and then I'm going to round that to 42.5 because that is 3 significant figures. 1, 2, 3, and we round the 4 up to 5. Okay, question 3. There are 54 fish in a tank. Some are white and the rest are red. Jivan takes at random a fish from the tank, and the probability he takes a white fish is 4/9. How many white fish were originally in the tank? Now basically, guys, this is a fancy way of saying 4/9 of the fish are white. So I can just say 4/9 of 54. And that gives me, I could do 4/9 times 54 on my calculator, or it's just divide by 9 is 6, multiply by 4 is 24. So there's 24 white fish originally. Okay, he then puts back the fish, right? Fine. He puts some more white fish into the tank. He takes a random fish from the tank, and the probability he takes a white fish is now a half. Okay, let's have a think about this. So there's 24, originally 24 white. There's 30 red because there was a total of 54. So I'll just do 54 total. Okay, now you can kind of just use trial and error here if you want, guys. If he puts one white fish, he'll have 26 out of 55 because the total will go up by 1. Sorry, not 26, 25. If he adds in 1, he'll have 25 and the total will be 55. Does this equal a half? No. If he adds 2, he'll have 26 over 56. Is that a half? No. If he adds 3, 27 over 57, no. 4, 28 over 58, no. 5, 29 over 59, no. 6, 30 over 60, yes. If he adds 6 white fish, he'll have 30 over 60, which is a half. So the answer is 6. He should add 6 more fish. Now I'm going to show you the more kind of technical way to do it. Imagine he adds x more fish. So we're going to say 24 plus x, some number of white fish, out of 54 plus x, because the total is now gone up by x. This has to equal a half. Find the value of x. That's essentially what we're doing. And to solve this, we can cross multiply. 2 times 24 plus x equals 1 times 54 plus x, which is just 54 plus x. Multiply this out. 48 plus 2x equals 54 plus x. X is on one side. I'm going to subtract this x. Numbers on the other side. I'm going to subtract 48. 2x minus x is x. 54 minus 48 is 6. So this is the more technical way to do it. Obviously, it's a lot more work. You would get the full marks for just writing 6, guys, or at least writing 30 over 60 equals a half. Therefore, x is 6. That is absolutely fine. Okay, question 4. Diagram shows the front of a wooden door and a semicircular glass window. Julie wants to apply 2 coats of wood varnish to the front of the door shown shaded in the diagram. 250 millimeters of wood varnish covers 4 meters squared of the wood. We've got how many milliliters of wood Juliet will need. Okay, so essentially, guys, find the area of this and then find out how many milliliters. So let's get the area first. The area is area equals area of the rectangle minus area of the semicircle. Let's call it like that. Area of the rectangle is 2 times 0.75, which is, you can use your calculator if you want, guys, 1.5. So that is 1.5 meters squared. Area of the semicircle is area of a circle, guys, is pi r squared. So area of a semicircle, which is half a circle, is a half pi r squared. So this is a half times pi times r squared. Now, if the diameter is 0.5, the radius is 0.25 because the radius is half the diameter. So it's 0.25 squared. And then this becomes, and now I will use my calculator, please. This becomes a half times pi times 0.25 squared. Okay, this gives me 0.0981744. Okay, 0.098. Just thinking that seems quite small, but whatever. I believe the maths. 0.0981747. So I'm not going to round it much here. I'll round it at the end. So the total area, the area equals the area of the rectangle, 1.5, minus the area of the semicircle, which is 0.0981747. And this is 1.5 minus 0.0981747, which is 1.4018. 1.4018. Now, it's that many meters squared, and he says 250 milliliters covers 4 meters squared. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to find 1 meter squared. So 4 meters squared doesn't equal 250 millimeters, but can be covered with 250 milliliters. 1 meter squared is therefore 250 divided by 4, because I divide this by 4, I divide this by 4. 250 divided by 4, let's just do it here. 250 divided by 4 is 62.5. Okay, I should have known that. That's 62.5. And then the area that I want is going to be this times this. So this is going to be 1.4018 meters squared is this times 1.4018, which gives me 87.5 87.6125. 87.6125. Now be careful, guys, because, and this is a slight trick or mean thing for the examiner to do. It says Julie wants to apply 2 coats of wood. 2 coats of wood varnish. So I need to do 87.6125 times 2 because of the 2 coats of varnish, which gives me this times 2 is 175.225. 175.225, but to the nearest millimeter, milliliter is 175. So it's 175 milliliters. Okay, question 5. That was actually quite hard, guys, for question 4. But anyway, Yasmin has some identical rectangular tiles. Using 9 of her tiles, she makes rectangle ABCD as shown below. Work out, the area of ABCD is this. Work out the length L and the value of W. Okay, so guys, this is L and this is W. Okay, so that's L and that's W, but this is L, this is L, this is L, and this is L. And then this is W, and this is L. Okay, and this is W, 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 W. Okay, so I can make, guys, essentially 2 equations. This one is, again, another tricky question, but just from looking at this, I can see that definitely W plus W plus W plus W plus W, or 5W, has to equal L plus L plus L plus L, or 4L. So 5W equals 4L. Okay, that's obvious. The next equation I'm going to get from using this, the area equation. Now the area of this big rectangle is the total length, which is 1, 2, 3, 4L, or I could choose 5W, but let's go with 4L. 4L times, multiplied by the width, which is L plus W. So this width here is L plus W. So this times this has to equal, this times this has to equal 1620. So now I have, guys, simultaneous equations with, I have simultaneous equations, but actually this one's a quadratic. So I'm going to multiply this guy out, and we get 4L times L is 4L squared, and 4L times W is plus 4LW, and this equals 1620. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change L. I'm going to use this equation and write L in terms of W. So L is 5W over 4. Okay, now instead of L, I'm going to write 5W over 4. So here I get 4 times L squared is 5W over 4 squared. So that's my L. Plus 4, instead of L, I'm writing 5W over 4 times W. And this equals 1620. Now I need to solve this equation. Okay, let's multiply this out. 4 times. This squared is 25W squared over 16. Plus these cancel nicely. So I'm just left with 5W squared, and this equals 1620. Okay, nearly there. The 4 and the 16 can cancel, so that's 1. 4 into 4 goes once, 4 into 16 goes 4 times. So now I have 25W squared over 4 plus 5W squared equals 1620. Number of ways I could do this. I'm going to add these two together using a common denominator. So I have 25w squared over 4, and this is going to become 20w squared over 4. Common denominator, and it's 20 because if I've got a denominator of 4, I need to multiply the numerator by 4. 5 times 4 is 20. So obviously 20 over 4 is equal to 5. And this is equal to 1620. 25 plus 20 is 45. So 45w squared over 4 equals 1620. I'm going to move up here, guys, because I'm running out of space. Well, let's do one more line. 45w squared equals 1620 multiplied by 4. 1620 multiplied by 4 is 6480. 6480. Then w squared has to be 6480 divided by 45. This divided by 45 gives me 144. W squared is 144, which means w is the square root of this, which is 12, and it has to be positive because it's a length. Okay, finally, guys, if w is 12, I can find the length, because length is equal to 5 times w over 4 from this. So the length is 5 times 12 over 4. Do this with your calculator. 412 goes 3. 3 times 5 is 15. So the length is 15. Length is 15 and w is 12. Okay, guys, I don't know why they've decided to make these earlier questions hard, but this was a really difficult question for question 5. Hopefully the later questions will be easier, but there you go. Question 6. Alison buys 5 apples and 3 pears for this. Greg buys 3 apples and 2 pears for this. Michael buys 10 apples and 10 pears. Work out how much he pays for his 10 apples and 10 pears. Okay, straight off, guys, another simultaneous equation. This time more familiar one, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. 5 apples. So let's say A is the cost of an apple, so 5A plus P is the cost of a pear equals 196. 196. 3 apples plus 2 pears equals 122. Now, guys, you can do this straight off with your calculator, but it says show you're working clearly, so you have to go through the process of multiplying the top by whatever and the bottom by whatever. So I'm going to multiply the top by 2. I'm going to do this times 2 and this times 3. The reason, because that will give me 6p on the top and 6p on the bottom, which I can then just use to eliminate. So this times 2 is 10a, this times 2 is 6p, and this times 2 is 392. Use your calculator. This times 3, 9a, this times 3, 6p, which I wanted. This times 3, 366. Again, use your calculator. Now, the sign is the same. So someone taught me recently a nice phrase, guys. It was same sign subtract, and her name was Sophie, so I said Sophie says same sign subtract, and it is subtract. So we subtract them. 10a minus 9a is 1a. So I get 1a here. These disappear, so because I'm subtracting. Guys, by the way, put a circle there with the subtract sign. And then 392 subtract 366 is 2226. 0.26. So an apple is 26 cents. Okay, if that's the cost of an apple, to get the cost of a pear, I just sub it back into one of these equations. I'm going to sub it into the second one. So 3 times 0.26 plus 2p, I'm subbing it into this equation. 3 times a plus 2 times b equals 122. 3 times 26 is 78. 0.78 plus 2p equals 122. 2p equals 122 minus 0.78, which is actually 0.44. So 1p, or 1 pair, is 0.22 or 22 cents. Okay, so now we have an apple and we have a pear. 10 apples is 10 times this, which is 260. And 10 pears is 10 times this, which is 220. So the total of 10 apples and 2 pears is this plus this, which is $4.80. So this is $4.80. Okay, that is question 6. Question 7. Write 3.6 times 10 to the 3 is a product of its prime factors, and again show you're working clearly. So guys, the 3.6 times 10 to the power of 3. Firstly, on our calculator, 3.6 times 10 to the power of 3 is 3,600. Now hopefully you can do that without a calculator, and we can get the factors by pressing shift and this, and it gives me the prime factors. So 3,600, well, 3,600, I'm going to write it here because I have to show my working, guys. But my answer, it's nice to have the answer. It's 2 to the power 4 times 3 squared, 2 to the power 4 times 3 squared times 5 squared. That's the answer. But guys, if you write that down, you'll get no marks. You have to show working. So how do we show working? Well, we're going to have to do this tree, factor tree, prime factor tree. So I split 3,600 into 2 factors. I'm going to choose 36 and 100. You could choose whatever, 2 times 1,800 or 360 times 10, whatever. And then you keep breaking it down. 36 is 6 times 6. 6 is 3 times 2. 6 is 3 times 2. Now you have to stop once you get to a prime number, which 3 and 2 and 3 and 2 are. Similarly, 100 is 2 times, well, sorry, I was going to do 5 times 20. And 20, 5 is a prime number, so I stop. 20 is 5 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. Now I like to circle the prime numbers, guys. We have a 3, a 2, a 3, a 2, a 5, a 5, a 2, and a 2, which is, how many 2's do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many 3's do I have? 1, 2. So it's 3 squared. And how many 5's do I have? 1, 2. Hence, I have this answer here. Okay, question 8. 2018, the population of Sydney was this. This was 22% of the total population of Australia. Work out the total population of Australia in 2018. Okay, so I can say 22% is 5.48 million. Therefore, 1%, best thing to do, guys, is just find 1%, is 5.48 divided by 22, divide by 22 to get 1%, and then 100% is 5.48 divided by 22 times 100, and this will give me the total population of Australia. 5.48 divided by 22 times 100 is 24.909, and he wants 3 significant figures. 24.909, which is to 3 significant figures 24.9, and it gives you million here. Okay, question 9. Solve the inequalities. Okay, so you can solve these together, guys. We're going to add 3 to this, which is minus 7 plus 3 is minus 4. We're going to add 3 to this. 5 plus 3 is 8. Then I divide this by 2. Minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. Just make sure you keep the same signs. So it's minus 2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. On the number line, represent the solution set to part I. So bigger or equal to minus 2, that means I'm going to do minus 2, but I'm going to fill in the circle because it can be minus 2. And I'm going to go to 4, draw another circle here, but I'm not going to fill this one in because it has to be less than 4. So close circle, open circle. Question 10. A cylinder, radius 10, height h. The mass of the cylinder is this. The density is this. Calculate the value of h. Okay, so firstly, guys, if you recall, our density is mass per volume. And yeah, it is how much mass we have per volume. You need to know that. It's not in the formula booklet, so it's mass over volume. And we have the density, it's this. We have the mass. What we don't have is the volume. But we can find the volume, and we can find it in terms of h. So our volume of a cylinder is, and this is in the formula booklet, pi r squared h. And in this case, it's pi times 10 squared times h, which is 100 pi h. Now guys, if density is mass times volume, then volume is, and let's just write it like this, d equals mass over volume. But I can rearrange this to say volume is equal to mass over density, because I multiply by the v and divide by the d. So the volume of this thing is mass divided by the density. Now I have the volume. The volume is 100 pi h. I have the mass, it's 5.4. And I have the density, it's 0.0027. How do I get h on its own? Well, I just divide by 100 pi. So it's 5.4 divided by 0.0027 times 100 pi. Because if I'm dividing this by 100 pi, I'm multiplying the denominator by 100 pi. And now I can just do this in one go. So it is 5.4, that's not right, there, 5.4 over 0.0027 times 100 pi button is there, and this should give me the right answer, which it does. 6.366, 6.366 to one decimal place, 6.4. And guys, we're dealing with centimeters. I think it gives you centimeters here. No, it doesn't, but it is going to be centimeters, 6.4 centimeters, because we're dealing with centimeters and kilograms. Okay, not an easy question, guys. Again, this is proving to be a tricky paper. All right, question 11. Hopefully this one's a bit easier. So table, times taken for 90 runners to complete a 10K race. Complete the cumulative frequency table, right? This is easy, but it's only worth 1 mark. So we just add them. 24 plus 12 is 36. 36 plus 28 is 64. 64 plus 12 is 76. Plus 10 is 86. Plus 4 is 90. That's our cumulative frequency table. Now, I'm guessing he's going to ask us to draw a cumulative frequency graph, right? So we have to use the table. So I have 35, 12. I use the end point of the interval. So 35, 12. 35, 12. And these are nicely going up in twos. So there's a point. Then I have 45, 36, and 55, 64. 45, 36, and 55 is 64. 76, 86, and 90. 76, 86, and 90. 76, 86, and this one is 90. Okay, that's my curve. I'm going to start from 25 because that's the beginning. So we start from 25 and we join these up and we try to make a smooth curve. It should go through. I always apologize, guys, when I draw these. It's quite tricky for me, but try and do better than that. That is my cumulative curve. Now it says any runner who completed the race in a time t minutes such that t is bigger than 42 and less than 52 is awarded a silver medal. Okay, interesting. So I need to go to 42, which is 35, 40, 41, 42 here. I go up and I go across. Right, this value here is 28. And then I go to 52, which is here. That's 50, 51, 52. Up, let's say there, and across, let's say 56. And then I do 56 minus 56 minus 28. 56 minus 28, which is 20. What is that? That is 28, which is in the accepted range in my mark scheme. So, okay, I'm happy with that. As I say, try and get your curve looking a bit nicer than mine. Okay, question 12. So we have a vertical cliff. The height of the cliff is 100 meters. The boy is at the point B, d meters from the cliff. The angle of elevation from B to the top of the cliff is 20. Calculate the value of D. Okay, guys, that I think is actually quite a straightforward SOHCAHTOA question. So we're going to use, we have the opposite and we want the adjacent. So opposite and adjacent, that sounds to me like TOA in our SOHCAHTOA. So tan 20 degrees equals opposite 100 over D. Then cross multiply by D, so D tan 20 equals 100, and then divide by the tan 20. D is 100 divided by tan 20 degrees. Calculator, please. And I have 100 over tan 20, close brackets, 274.75, but he wants it to 3 significant figures, so that's just going to be 275. So this is 275. I like to first just put a less rounded answer, 274.747. 274.748 actually, because I'm just going to round. That's 7 to 8, but the final answer has to be 275. Okay, the point A at the top, of the radio, okay, here, at the top of the radio mast, sorry, is vertically above the top of the cliff. The angle of elevation from B to A is 25 degrees. Calculate the height of the radio mast. Okay, this is now a bit more tricky. Definitely, guys, draw on your diagram. So we're going to go from B, and now we're going to go up to A. And he's saying this angle is 25 degrees, right? So here, this bigger angle is 25 degrees. Now, we know this is 275, or again, I can use this less rounded value here. I'm gonna find this height. So I'm gonna find from here to here. This is like my opposite. Let's call it X. So X is the full length. It'll be more than 100. If it's not more than 100, I've done something wrong. So I'm gonna say the tan of 25 equals X over D. So the tan of 25 is equal to X over D, which is this number here. And again, I'm going to use the less rounded version here. So tan 25 is X over this. And then X is this times this. So it's 274.748 times tan 25. So let me just remove this. Times tan 25 degrees equals X. So X is equal to 274.748 times tan 25, which is 128.117. So it is bigger than 100, which I wanted. 128.117. Okay, but the question says calculate the height of the radio mast. So look, if this is 128.117, if this X is 128.117, then clearly the radio mast, which is this height, is just going to be my 128.117 minus this 100. So it's just going to be 28.117. So I'm going to do 128.117 minus 100 is 28.117. Three significant figures again, which means we want 28.1. Okay, that's question 12. Question 13. Given a triangle, XYZ, and we're given two angles and a side, and it says find the upper bound for YZ here. And it says that the two angles and the side have been rounded or given corrected two significant figures. So this is an upper and lower bound question. Now, by the way, guys, this is a very difficult upper and lower bound question, and I'll show you why. The first thing I want to consider is how am I going to get X? Because I'm actually not sure, just by looking at this, to get an upper bound for XZ, I'm not sure which to get for the angles. Should I get the upper bound or the lower bound, or one of each? It's not actually clear to me. But the 16, I need to get the upper bound for the 16, fine. But these two, I'm not quite sure yet. But I can find out, because to get X, I'm going to use the sine rule. I'm going to say X over sine 130 is equal to 16 over sine 25. That's the sine rule. X over the sine of this equals this over the sine of this, opposite sides. And then I'm going to multiply across. So X is equal to 16 sine 130 over sine 25. Now, to get the upper bound for X, I need the numerator to be big and the denominator to be small. So I want 16 to be big. So let me just write X big as well. So if you've seen me do these questions before, guys, you'll see I do it like this. I want X to be big. And to make X big, I want 16 to be big because it's in the numerator. And then I also want sine 130 to be big because it's in the numerator. And I want sine 25 to be small because it's in the denominator. So big numerator, small denominator gives me a big X. Okay, now this is the tricky bit, because just because I want sine 130 to be big, that actually doesn't mean I want my angle to be big. Now, actually for sine 25, yes, I want a small angle will give me a small sine of an angle, because the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So I want 25 to be small. Okay, but the sine 130, this is what makes this question really tricky, guys. Sine 130 is actually, to make sine 130 big, I don't want to make 130 big. I actually want to make 130 small. And the reason is because the graph of sine that looks something like this, when he passes 90, this value here is 90. Once you get past 90, the bigger the angle, the smaller the sine of the angle, and the smaller the angle, the bigger the sine of the angle. Now I'm well aware that's confusing, guys, but the bottom line is I need to make 130 small. Now if you're not fully convinced about this graph, let me show you using the calculator what I mean. If I get the sine, okay, let me just show you the sine of 130. The sine of 130 is 0.766. Now I want to make this big. So if I get, let's say, the sine of 135, the sine of 135 is 0.707, and the sine of 125 is 0.819. So you can see the sine of 125 is bigger than the sine of 130, which is bigger than the sine of 135. So the sine of 125 is bigger. Hence, I want to make the angle small. Okay, so if we're okay with that, guys, and I'm well aware that that's very difficult to understand. But once we have got that, I'm going to do this trick where I get out my 3 lines, and I'm going to get the upper and lower bound for each of them. So this guy is my 16, this guy is my 130, and this guy is my 25. So if this is 16, I'm going to put 16 in the middle. He's been rounded to 2 significant figures. So the next one up is 17, and the next one down is 15. And the upper bound is 16.5, and the lower bound is 15.5. Okay, let's do it for this one. 130 goes in the middle, 2 significant figures. The next one up is 140, next one down is 120, and again the upper bound is halfway between these two, 135. The lower bound halfway between these two, 125, and finally 25 is here. He's been rounded to 2 significant figures, so I'm just going to go up to 26 and down to 24, and then again the middle is 25.6 and 24.6. Now I want to get x, therefore x is equal to I want the upper bound of 16, big 16, so 16.5. I want a small 130, so he's 125, so it's 16.5 times sine of 125, and I want a small 25, so this becomes, sorry guys, I wrote 25.6 there, which is definitely wrong. That was meant to be 25.5 and 24.5. Hope you spotted it, 24.5 here. So then this becomes, the denominator is small, so I want sine of 24.5. Now I put all of this into my calculator and I get 16.5 times sine 125 divided by sine of 24.5, close bracket, and I get 32.59. Let's just write that first, 32.59, and 1 decimal place, 32.6. So as I said, guys, that is difficult for sure. If in doubt which ones to use, just do what I do with my calculator, and you can actually see, just try a few different ones and you can see which gives you the higher or the lower value. Okay, question 14. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F and G, H, I, J, K, L regular hexagons, right? We have, this is a vector question, guys. OA is A and OB is B. Write the following vectors in terms of A and B. Okay, we have A to B. So AB is this vector here. It goes from here to here. Now the way we get from A to B is we have to go this way. We're going to go minus A against this arrow. So we're going to go minus A plus B that way. Minus A plus B. So AB is minus A plus B, or nicer probably to write B minus A. Then K to I. Okay, so to get from K to I, guys, I'm just gonna make the B is gonna be pink and A is going to be green. Okay, to get from K to I am gonna go up a pink to there. Because these are all regular hexagons, guys, that is the exact same as B. So I'm going to go up there. I'm going to go across a blue. Now we know the blue is B minus A. I'm going to go up. So I'm going from K to I. So I'm going to go up a pink, and I'm going to go across a blue. So this gives me this is equal to a pink is B, plus a blue is B minus A, plus pink is B, plus another blue is B minus A. And we just simplify this, and I have B plus B plus B plus B, which is 4B. And I have minus A, which is minus 2A. And there we go. And then finally LD. Okay, I'm going to go from L to D here. Okay, same kind of thing, guys. I am going to go across a blue. I'm going to go down a green. Did he say LD? Yeah. So across a blue, down a green, and across a blue. So across a blue is B minus A. So it's going to be B minus A, down a green, which is minus A, and then across a blue again. So across a blue, B minus A, plus B minus A again. So plus B minus A. And this gives me B plus B is 2B, and minus A is minus 3A. Okay, hope that makes sense. Triangle OAB has an area of 5 centimeters squared. Calculate the area of the shaded region. 3 marks. Okay, OAB has 5 centimeters squared. OAB, right. So this area here, guys, this area here is 5. And we want the area of the shaded region. So there's a few different ways you could do it. Probably the nicest way to do it would be to split this up into different triangles. So I'm just trying to find a nice color we can use. Right, assuming that is, okay, that's our triangle. Now if I actually continue this up, because again they're regular, hexagons, and actually I should have mentioned this, it is an enlargement with scale factor 2. So I could actually just get the area of this and then multiply it that way, but I think maybe a nicer way to do it is for you to notice that I can do this to here, because again that's twice that length, to here. So this is 1, 2, 3. That's 3 of them, but I actually have this times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm going to do is I'll just do it up here first and then I'll write it below. This area, area of trapezium GHBA, area of GHBA is equal to 3 of these triangles, and it says these triangles is 5. So I'm going to do 3 times 5, which is 15. So this orange area is 15. And then I'm going to multiply that 15 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So shaded area shaded is equal to 6 times 15, which is equal to 6 times 15 is 90. So I'm actually just going to take this, copy it, and bring it down here. There we go. The alternative method, guys, if you prefer, is to note that the area of the small hexagon here, area, let's call it S for small, is 1, and again I can split this up into different triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 times 5, which is 30. The scale factor, I'm going to talk about area factors here now in a second, but the scale factor is 2, which means the area factor is 2 squared, or 4. So the area of the big hexagon is 4 times 30, 4 times 30, which is 120. And then the area of the shaded is the big, area of big minus area of the small, which is 120 minus 30, which is 90. So there are two different methods, both perfectly correct, and both give you the same answer. Okay, that is question 14. Question 15. And Gary played 2 games of chess against each other. I hope you know who Magnus and Gary are, guys. They're probably the 2 greatest chess players ever. Debatable, but anyway. The probability Gary wins is this. The probability the probability Magnus wins is this. Draw is this, and then the probability Magnus loses would then be 3 out of 9, because these 3 have to add up to 1, and it says complete the tree diagram. It says the result is independent, which means the second game is going to be the exact same. So this is 2/9, 4/9, 3/9, and then the same here, 2/9, 4/9, 3/9, 2/9, 4/9, 3/9. Okay. Then it says for each game of chess, the winner gets 2 points, the loser gets 0 points, and when the game is drawn, each player gets 1 point. Work out after the probability after 2 games, they both have the same number of points, right? So for that to happen, guys, essentially there's 3 things that can happen. Either Magnus wins and then he loses. That means he gets 2 points and Gary gets 2 points. So now they have 2 points each. Or they could draw and then draw the second game. Now they have also 2 points each, because they've got 1 point for the draw and a second point for the second draw. Or finally, Magnus could lose. Now Gary has 2 points, but then Magnus wins the second game. So those are the 3 ways it can happen. And to calculate that, we just do 2/9 times 3/9, 4/9 times 4/9, and 3/9 times 2/9. Okay, so I'm going to do 2/9 times, so this is Gary wins, sorry, Magnus wins, and Magnus loses is 3/9. So wins, loses, plus draw times draw, plus, put them in brackets, guys, just so it's clear, plus Magnus loses, and then Magnus wins. Okay, I'll do this, guys, use your calculator. I'm just going to do it manually. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 16, 22, plus 6 is 28. So that equals 28 out of 81. Okay, Magnus and Gary now play a third game of chess. Work out the probability that after 3 games they still have, or they have the same number of points. Right, this makes it more tricky, guys. Now you could draw another an extension to the tree, but I don't think that's going to take too much work. So I'm going to write down here, Magnus wins is 2/9, just so we're clear. Wins is 2/9, draw is 4/9, and loses is 3/9. Okay, so now let's think about the different ways they could have the same number of points. Let's write them down. You could have a win, a loss, and then a draw, or a loss, a win, and a draw. But you could also have a win, a draw, and a loss, or a loss, a draw, and a win, or finally a draw, a win, and a loss, or a draw, a loss, and a win. So there's actually 6 different ways that they can each win one, and the third one is a draw. And then finally, don't forget, you could have the draw, draw, draw option. Draw, draw, draw. And I'm actually going to write that down here. Draw, draw, draw. Okay, now the win, this guy, the win, loss, draw is going to be 2/9 times loss 3/9 times draw 4/9. And this is equal to 2 times 3 times 4, which is 2 times 3 times 4 is 24, and 9 times 9 times 9, definitely use your calculator, guys. I happen to know that because it's well, I just happen to know it. It's 729. But what happens is, you'll see, guys, the pattern. Loss, win, draw is the same. It's just in a different order. So it would be 3/9 times 2/9 times 4/9, which is, again, 24 over 729. So all of these are actually 24 over 729. So I'm just going to say 6 times 24 over 729. So this is 6 times 24 over 729. And then this guy would be 4/9 times 4/9 times 4/9, which is 64 over 729. So my answer is going to be 6 times 24 over 729 plus 64 over 729. These are the 6 different options here, and this is the draw, draw, draw one. And when we calculate all of these, we get 6 times 24 over 729, which is that. Actually, I prefer I didn't simplify. So let's just do 6 times 24 is 144. 144 144 over 729 plus 64 over 729 is equal to 208 over 729. Now guys, of course you can simplify it if you want, although I don't think it does simplify. If you put 208 over 729, you get that anyway. Okay, so that's the final answer. That is question 15, right? Question 16. There's 32 students in a class. In one term, these 32 students each took a test. So they all took a test. There's no one who didn't take any test. Or although actually, sorry guys, this tells us about the results of the test. So let's just be careful. It actually says X students passed all 3 tests. 4 students failed all 3 tests. So actually, this isn't how many took the test. This is how many passed the test. So I'm going to put 4 on the outside here. And it says X passed the test. X passed all 3. So I'm going to put the X here. Okay, now I'm going to kind of work backwards. I'm going to look at the 11. 11 students passed the tests in maths and French. So this whole thing is 11, which means, be careful guys, we have to write down here 11 minus X. So hang on guys, it says, I should have read the question. Use all the given information about the results of the students who passed the test in maths to find the value of X. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this 11 minus X, because whatever X is, let's say it was 5, this would then be 11 minus 5, which would be 6, because these two have to add up to 11. 18 passed the test in maths and English, so similarly this is 18 minus X. 14 passed the test in French, so this total is 14, so 11 minus X plus X, or if you just think of, we know this guys is 11, so 11 plus 2 is 13. This has to be 1. And it says 20 passed the test in English, so we know 18 plus 2, so this is actually 0 guys, because our 18 plus 2 gives us 20. And then 25 students passed the test in maths. Okay, so this, I will be able to find my X from this 25. I will say that this total here, this 3 plus 18 minus X plus X plus 11 minus X. So all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, these have to equal 25, because it says 25 passed the maths test. So I'm just going to add these together. That's 21 plus 11 is 32. 32. These x's cancel and I'm left with minus x equals 25. Add the x to the right and subtract the 25 to the left, and I get 7. So 32 minus 7. So x is obviously 7. So if x is 7, well, that's the answer. Find x. X equals 7. Okay. Part B. Use your value of x to complete the Venn diagram to show the number of students in each subset. Okay, well, I now have 7 here. This was 11 minus x, so this is 11 minus 7 is 4. This one was 18 minus x, so 18 minus 7 is 11. This one we already had was 0, and this one we already had was 1, and this one is 4 here. Okay, a student who passed the test in maths is chosen at random. Find the probability that this student failed the test in French. Okay, so that's actually a tricky question, guys. So he says a student who passed the maths test. So that means we're only taking students from here, from this circle, because it says this is like a conditional probability. It says we are taking one of these students, and it's 11 plus 7 is 18, 22, 25. So whatever the probability is, it's going to be out of 25. Now, how many of these 25 students, so guys, let me just check the question again. They each took a test in, okay, they all took a test in all of them. So if you're not in here, if you're not in this circle, that means you failed the French test. So actually these 3 and these 11 failed the French test because they're not in the French circle. 3 plus 11 is 14. So it's 14 out of 25. Okay, it was only worth 1 mark. Okay, question 17. Factorize 6y squared minus y minus 5. Right, I've actually learned a new way to do these, guys. I do a times c. So you may be familiar with this method. A times c is equal to, where this is a, b is minus 1, and c is minus 5. But a times c is minus 30. And then I need to find the factors of minus 30 that add together to give me b. And in this case, it's pretty straightforward. It's going to be minus 6 and 5, because minus 6 plus 5 gives me minus 1. Then I write 6y squared minus 6y plus 5y minus 5. So you basically just rewrite this with, instead of minus y, I change it to minus 6y plus 5y, which is obviously minus y, because minus 6 plus 5 is minus 1. Then I factorize the first two, 6y times y minus 1. And then I factorize the second two, 5 into y minus 1. And then you can note that these two are the same, so I can take that out, and I'm just left with y minus 1, so that's in both. And then what's left is just the 6y plus 5. 6y plus 5. Okay, I've mentioned in previous videos, guys, that you can use your calculator to kind of figure this out as well if you work backwards, but this is how you factorize it. And these are the factors: y minus 1 times 6y plus 5. Okay, part B. Make f the subject. So let's start with the most annoying thing, which is the denominator. So I want to get this denominator away. How do I get rid of a denominator? I multiply. So I'm going to say w times 8 minus f equals 2f plus 3. Now I want to get the f's on their own, the terms with f in them. This f here is in a bracket. Let's multiply it out. 8 times w is 8w. W times f minus wf equals 2f plus 3. I'm not sure why I put a bracket there. Okay, now let's get the terms with f in them on one side. I actually prefer, guys, to put them on the right, just because there won't be a minus. So I'm going to leave the 2f here, and I'm going to add the wf to this side. I have an 8w here, and I'm going to subtract the 3 to this side. Now my two terms with f are here, and my two terms without f are over here. This is perhaps the tricky bit. To isolate f, get f on its own, I need to factorize. So I take out the f, and I'm left with 2 plus w, and that equals 8w minus 3. And then finally, I just divide. F is 8w minus 3 over 2 plus w, divided by what's in the bracket, and then write it as this: f equals 8w minus 3 over 2 plus w. Okay, part C. Express this in the form of this. Right, guys, I have a nice hack way to do this with the calculator. And if you check the mark scheme, you do get full marks if you just write down the answer. So you can go straight to the answer here. How do I do it? I go to menu, I go to equation, I go to polynomial, and I go to degree 2. I go 4 minus 8 and 7, press enter. I get x1 and x2, which are complex, ignore them, but I get a minimum of 1 and 3. So the min is at 1, 3. Now when I know the minimum is 1, 3, I can write this thing here, this 4x squared minus 8x plus 7, as my a is always the same as this a, so a is 4, so it's 4 times x minus 1, it's always minus whatever this is, minus 1. If this is minus 1, then it's x plus 1, so but it's just minus whatever that thing is there, squared, and then plus 3. So that's it. That's the answer. It's 4 times x minus 1 squared plus 3. Done. I'll show you the other way to do it. Just well, just so you know how to do it, but you would get full marks for that, for this in this question. So the other way to do it is you take out the 4 and you're left with 4 x squared, so you're dividing each term by 4 essentially. X squared minus 4x squared minus 2x, and then I'm going to just put plus 7 on the outside. Okay, then I complete the square for this bit where I divide this by 2, x minus 1 squared, and I subtract 1 because I subtract this squared like this. Then I have my plus 7 on the outside. Then I multiply this out and I get 4 times x minus 1 squared. 4 times minus 1 is minus 4 plus the 7 here, which gives me 4 times x minus 1 squared minus 4 plus 7 is plus 3. So it's the same thing. Okay, question 18. 0.4x recurring, x with a dot on it is a recurring decimal such that x is a whole number between 1 and 9. Okay, find in terms of x this recurring decimal as a fraction. Give your answer in its simplest form, right? This, guys, looks like an unusual recurring decimal question, but we can apply the same rules that we normally use, and that is, well, normally I let x, but this time I'm not going to use x, I'm going to use y. So I'm going to say let y equal 0.4. Now x recurring means this is 0.4 x dot. Now just be clear, guys, this does not mean 4 times x times x times x times x. This is just a decimal, so x is a number. Like if it was 5, it would be 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, etc. Now the method we use normally to solve these, or to write them as fractions, is first we multiply by 10, and this gives me 4.x dot. Now the goal is to get the decimals the same. Here they're still not the same, so I have to go again. I go 100y is equal to 4x.xxx dot. Now again, be careful, guys, this does not mean 4 times x like we're so used to, like 4x. This means 40x, or 40 plus x. If x was 5, it would be 45. Okay, now we're going to do, because the decimals are the same, we're going to now do 100y, we subtract them, we do 100y minus 10y, and that gives me 4x.xxx, 40x I should say, dot, minus 4.xxx dot. Now the goal here is, when you subtract them, you get rid of these decimals because they're the same, they're gone. So we're left with 100y minus 10y is 90y, and 4x minus 4. Now this is where we have to be super careful, guys. It's not 4, this is not 4x, this is 4, it's and sorry, it's not even 40x, it's 40 plus x. So this is 40 plus x, because again, if it was 5, 45 means 40 plus 5. So it's 40 plus x minus 4. So 90y is 40 minus 4 is 36 plus x, and then y is 36 plus x divided by 90. And that's, yeah, that is the answer. Okay, yeah, definitely a tricky one. Question 19. ABCDE is a 5-sided shape. ABCD is a rectangle. This is an equilateral triangle. We have x, we have y. It gives us the perimeter of the whole thing is 100, and the area is r. Show that r is equal to this. Okay, fine. So this is x, this is y, this is y. Now guys, because this is an equilateral triangle, this is x, which means this is x, and this is x, because they're all the same. It's equilateral. And that's x because that's x. It's a rectangle. Okay, that means I can say the perimeter, let's write it here, the perimeter, which is 100, is equal to x plus y plus x plus x plus y. Just be careful guys, I'm not counting this one. It's x, y, x, x, y, which is equal to 3x plus 2y, and that's equal to 100. Now note guys, in this area formula there is no y, so I'm actually going to write y in terms of x. So I'm going to say 2y is equal to 100 minus 3x, and then y is equal to 100 minus 3x. I've just swapped the sides, divided by 2. Okay, so now I have y in terms of x. Okay, now we're going to get the area. So the area is equal to the area of the rectangle plus the area of the triangle. Let's first get the area of the rectangle. Area of the rectangle is x times y. It's x times y. Now y is this. 100 minus 3x over 2. This is y, because I've just got it in terms of x. So this is equal to, well, let's just leave it like that for now, and we'll see how we go. Okay, the area of the triangle. Okay, you could use Pythagoras' theorem, guys, to get the height and then do a half base times height. I think it's probably easier, and you can debate this. It's up to you which way you want to do it. But because it's an equilateral triangle, that's 60, 60, 60, 60. Now it doesn't look like an equilateral triangle, guys. That's why this thing is very important. But that is 60, that's 60, and that's 60. The area of a triangle is a half AB sine C, which is x times x sine 60. X squared sine 60. And sine 60, is root 3 over 2. So this is equal to a half x squared times root 3 over 2. Okay, now I know, guys, that my area, my r, because r is the area, is equal to this plus this. Okay, so it's x, x times 100 minus 3x over 2 plus a half, well, actually this is going to be a quarter, because a half times a half here is a quarter, and actually it's root 3. So look, just to simplify this, guys, it's root 3 over 4. Root 3 over 4, because a half of this. And then there's an x squared here. Okay, now he wants it in this form, guys, which is a little bit annoying. Let's have a think how we're going to do it. Right, so he's got a quarter outside, so I'm actually going to multiply this out just to make it easier, guys. This is going to be 100x minus 3x squared over 2, so I've just multiplied by the x, plus root 3 over 4x squared. Now I'm going to make everything over 4, so I have a common denominator. So this guy over 4, I am going to multiply the denominator by 2, so I need to multiply the numerator by 2. 200x minus 6x squared, right? That's good because it's going to give me this 6 here. And this is plus root 3 over 4x squared. Okay, nearly there. He takes out an x, so there's a common x in all the terms. So we're going to take out an x. And he takes out a 4 from the denominator. So now my denominator is gone. My x is gone. And I'm left with here 200, here minus 6x, because there's still one x here, because that's x squared, plus root 3x for the same reason, because I'm going to multiply, when I multiply my x times by x, I get this x squared. And finally, you can maybe see that this is going to equal this, because if I take out the minus and the x, I get minus there. This is a 6 minus root 3, because minus times minus gives you this plus. I'm aware, guys, this is tricky. And then the x there. But I've just written down the final answer here. But you can see how this equals this, because minus 6 minus times 6 times x is minus 6x. Minus times minus root 3 times x is plus root 3x. So there you go. Anyway, not easy. Find the value of x for which OR has its maximum value. Give your answer in this form. Okay, right. So obviously, guys, this is getting really difficult. So OR, which is the area, is equal to x over 4 times 200 minus 6 minus root 3 x. Now this is a 2-mark question. So we want the value of x for which OR has its maximum value. Now how do we find the maximum of this? Well, and actually I almost prefer to go back to this. So to find where this has its maximum, because it's a quadratic, this is essentially a quadratic, I need to find this maximum point here. And I just need to find the value of x where that occurs. So to find that maximum, I need to differentiate, because the derivative will give me the maximum where the derivative equals 0. So I'm going to differentiate this. Maximum occurs when dr, I'm going to write that, max at dr dx equals 0. So how am I going to get dr dx? Well, let's rewrite, or I'm going to actually multiply this out now. I'm going to have x, I'm going to have 50x, because it's 200x over 4, 200x over 4, which is going to be 50x, minus 6 minus root 3 over 4x squared. So I've multiplied this times this and this times this. Now I'm going to sorry, this is dr, no it isn't, I have just multiplied out. Okay, now I'm going to differentiate. So dr dx is equal to the derivative of this, the x disappears, so I'm just left with 200 over 4, which is 50. And this one I multiply by the power, 2 times 6 minus root 3 over 4 x, I subtract 1 from the power. Now at the max, as we said, the derivative, and this guy's for, I'm sorry, for 2 marks is difficult. The maximum occurs when the derivative equals 0. So I'm going to say 50 minus, by the way, that goes once and that goes twice, so it's 50 minus 6 minus root 3 over 2, x equals 0, and this is like in a big bracket. I'm going to add this to the other side, so I'm going to have 50 equals 6 minus root 3 over 2 x, and actually there's another bracket here. Finally, I'm going to multiply by 2. 2 times 50 is 100, and I'm going to divide by 6 minus root 3. 6 minus root 3, and I get x. So that's the answer, guys. 100 over 6 minus root 3. Yeah, I'm well aware that is difficult. Explain why the maximum value of r is given by this value of x. Okay, so it just wants you to then note that that the maximum, well, as r is a quadratic, as r is a quadratic in terms of x, the max occurs when dr dx equals 0, which is the stationary point, which is the turning point. And actually, guys, I should say, as r is a negative, I'm going to put that in here, as r is a negative quadratic, and then you can even draw this graph just to show that it's clearly happening here. Okay, yeah, well aware, guys. Very, very difficult question. And okay, luckily we've only got one question left. The straight line L passes through point A and B. The straight line M is perpendicular to L and passes through the midpoint of A and B. The line M intersects x equals -1 at point C. Calculate the area. Okay, so this actually is a really difficult question, and it's 7 marks, and they've only given us 1 page to do it. I've actually found this paper to be really difficult, guys. I'd be interested to know what you think, but maybe it's because it's the holidays or something, but I feel this is one of the hardest papers that I've done yet. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you agree. So this is point A -6, 2, and point B is up here somewhere, 5, 3. So I'm not concerned about whether these are correct relative to some kind of plane. I'm just drawing a line. I could have drawn it that way, it doesn't matter. So here's a line, and we know that there's a point in the middle. So this is actually line L, and there's a point in the middle here. Let's actually find that point. Now I'm going to call this point P, just because I don't want to use M because it's already used. So the P is the midpoint, and the midpoint is equal to x1 plus x2 over 2, comma y1 plus y2 over 2, which is -1/2, comma, sorry, over 2. What am I doing? That was supposed to be a 2. 2 plus 3 over 2 is 5 over 2. So that's this midpoint P, -1/2, comma 5 over 2. Okay, now there's a line, another line that goes through this point and is perpendicular to the line. So something like this. So we know this line goes through this point, And we know it touches the line x equals -1. So when x is -1, we have a point C. Okay, so let me actually put in this point C. By the way, this is line M. And I'm going to put in a point C somewhere here. This is C. And C has x coordinate -1. So when he says it intersects the line x equals -1, what he means is the x coordinate of this is -1 because it touches the line when x is -1. So I need to find the y coordinate because he wants to then find the area of the triangle ABC. So this triangle would be this triangle here. ABC. Find this area. And to get that area, I could do half the base times the height. This would be the height here. CP would be the height, AB would be the base. But to find it, I need this y coordinate. And how do I get the y coordinate? Well, I need to get the equation of this line. And the only way to get the equation of this line is to get the gradient. And to get the gradient, I'm going to have to get the gradient of this line first. So let's get the gradient M of AB, or M of L. So be careful. Little m, guys, stands for gradient. I know I have a little m here, MP for midpoint, but little m is gradient, not the line, capital M. So the gradient of L is y2 minus y1, 3 minus 2, it's 3 minus 2, over x2 minus x1, which is 5 minus 6, which is actually equal to 1 over 11. Now that means the gradient of m, little m, capital M, so that means gradient of m, is the negative reciprocal, or negative 11. Okay, now I then have the equation, I have the gradient of line M. So to get the equation of M, I'm going to use y equals mx plus c. But my m is negative 11, so y is equal to negative 11x plus c. To find c, I'm going to sub in a point that I know that it's on the line, which is going to be this point P. So for P, y is 5 over 2, minus 11, x is minus a half, plus c. You can use your calculator here, guys. 5 over 2 equals minus 11 times a half is minus 11 times minus a half is a positive 11 over 2. So minus 11 times minus a half is 11 over 2 plus c. Therefore, c is 5 over 2 minus 11 over 2, which is minus 6 over 2, which is minus 3. So it's minus 6 over 2 equals minus 3. So the equation of the line, therefore, y is equal to minus 11x minus 3. That is the equation of this line. Okay, that's correct. Now, I have, although I'm just looking at it, it seems slightly strange. Let me just think. Okay, all good. So y is equal to minus 11x minus 3. So in order to get the y coordinate of c, okay, sorry, yeah, that's the confusing thing, guys. This point C is not this C, so just be careful. So when or at x equals negative 1, y is equal to negative 11 times negative 1 minus 3, which is 11 minus 3, which is 8. Okay, so now I have this coordinate, 8. C is negative 1, 8. So I'm going to get the length AB, that's my base. I'm going to get the length CP, that's my height. Let's do that first. AB is equal to the square root, this is the magnitude formula, guys, square root of 5 minus 6 squared, that's x1 minus x2 squared, plus 3 minus 2 squared, which is, I'm just going to put this straight into my calculator, guys. This is the square root of 5 minus 6 is 11, so it's 11 squared plus 1 squared, which is just 1. Oops, I did something wrong. Square root of 11 squared plus 1 squared, which is just root 122. I could have done that in my head. Root 122. The magnitude of PC, so length of our CP. Length of CP is same kind of thing. It is the square root of -1 minus a half squared, this minus this squared, plus this minus this squared. Now again, guys, use the calculator. So it's this brackets -1 minus, I'm not sure if that works, but let's try it, minus a half squared plus 8 minus 5 over 2 squared is root 122 over 2. Okay, root 122 over 2. Now the area, I'm going to write this bit in green so we're clear. Area is equal to a half base times height, which is a half. The base is this AB, so it's a half root 122 times the height, which is root 122 over 2. Now when you multiply this out, we're going to get a half times a half, which is a quarter, root 122 times root 122 is actually 122, because you could just put that straight into your calculator and you're going to get a quarter of 122, or 122 divided by 4, which is 61 over 2, or 30.5, which is thankfully the correct answer. Okay, as I say, guys, that's a really hard question. To finish with, I thought that was a really difficult paper. Let me know what you think, but yeah, there you go. So I'll see you for paper 2.